Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of the GSMC Fantasy Sports Podcast, brought to you as always by the GSMC Sports Network. My name is Christopher Shepard. Thank you all for tuning in. We have a lot to cover today, especially our two Monday Night Football games from last night. We also have a lot of waiver wire updates to go over. Who out there is still going to contribute to your team? Also, a little bit of a bold fantasy prediction segment, a don't be surprised if you will kind of segment, and also going over some of my rankings for this upcoming week. It should be a fantastic show. Before we get into any of that, I do want to remind you yet again to consider liking, following, and subscribing to the show and the network. Also, if you do feel so inclined, you guys have been doing a fantastic job of this. Keep on making yourselves available to the many ways you can contribute to the show. That is not what I wanted to portray. Welcome, Ashan Haider. If I'm pronouncing that correctly. Welcome to the chat. But let me get rid of this graphic so that you can see the many ways you can contribute to the show. The super chat, super thanks, and super stickers features. As Ashan Haider says, can you shout me out? Shout out to you, Ashan. I believe you are a new viewer. I have not seen you in the comment section, but you are always welcome. Great way to interact with the show is through the comment section. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anyone out there watching right now, you can leave them in the chat. Great way to get your comments out there, get your name mentioned in the show if you would like. Without further ado, let's jump right into today's show. Starting off with a little bit of a Monday Night Football recap. Not one, but two games to go over. Two very different games, if you will, from last night. Let's start off with the easy one to talk about, Jags, Bills. It was a beatdown in every sense of the word. Josh Allen proving he's one of the most incredible quarterbacks in the NFL right now. And the Jacksonville Jaguars just look very hapless at the moment on both sides of the football. I don't necessarily think it's all on Trevor Lawrence, even though, as a number one overall pick, there was a lot of pressure on his shoulders. This looks kind of disjointed right now in Jacksonville, but kudos to the Buffalo Bills for getting that big victory. They truly look like a Super Bowl contending team. As Ashan Haider says, let's play Call of Duty. Let's try and stay on topic right here, my man. As much as I would love to play video games, I think we have to kind of stay on topic right now. But thanks for commenting. Then in the future, let's talk about fantasy football as well. There's time for play and there's time for talking fantasy football. So I appreciate your comments. But for now, let's jump right into the excitement of Monday Night Football, even though this game was not as exciting as I thought it was going to be. But let's just go over some of the fantasy quick hitters here. Josh Allen, like always, probably the number one quarterback in the NFL right now. 23 of 30, 263 yards, 4 touchdowns, 30.92 fantasy points. It was an absolute dominant performance by him, spraying the football around to many different receivers. Just overall looking like the quarterback who I thought he was going to be coming into this year. A guy who had pressure lifted off his shoulders with the absence of Stephon Diggs. A lot of people thought that was going to be to his detriment, but no. He rose to the occasion. Joe Brady and this offense is really suiting him very well. We're going to have to see Sunday night. They play their first kind of true test against Baltimore. As Andre says, Jamar is him. I did tell you guys to start Jamar Chase. I said that he was going to be a big part of this game. We'll get to a little bit of a recap of Commanders Bengals, but I just want to appreciate Josh Allen for a little bit longer. And I think, wow, J5 says Andre, Rookie of the Year. He looked poised out there, made the right play. I'm going to get into Jaden Daniels because you can say on a night where Josh Allen and Joe Burrow played, he was perhaps the best quarterback of them all. So I will give Jaden Daniels his flowers. Just overall, though, I do want to recap just some other fantasy performers in this Bills game. James Cook, solid game from him. Not as dominant as we've seen him in the past couple of weeks. 11 carries, 39 yards, 1 TD, but 18.7 points, and he made me a very happy man. A big part of my fantasy football win this week. And then I said, Khalil Shakir would be a nice little start for you in fantasy football. 6 catches, 72 yards, 12 yards per catch, not too shabby. 1 touchdown, 19.2 fantasy points. I said he's becoming a true receiver. Out of all the receivers, he's caught all of his targets. And he's really coming into his own. He's not a typical wide receiver one, but they can align him in many different ways, and he's very comfortable in the short to intermediate areas of the field, which is exactly what this offense wants. So overall, a dominant performance by the Buffalo Bills to get them going. And this is just more of an indictment, I think, of Jacksonville than it is kind of a coronation of Buffalo, because I personally think of Buffalo as my Super Bowl pick. If you were to end the season right now, Buffalo would be the most impressive team, the most complete team at this current moment in time, and they would be my personal Super Bowl winner. But also you have to look at the organizational infrastructure of Jacksonville and how inept it seems right now. It just seems like they can't get anything going. It's not necessarily Trevor Lawrence's fault, like I said before. It's just that there's nothing built around him or the rest of this team. As Ashan Haider says, if you pour milk on your head right now, I will donate $20. I'm sorry, Ashan. As much as I appreciate your commenting, I do think, as Andre says, I had a crazy week. 30 points from Josh Allen and 30 from Jamar. Kudos to you, Andre. I think that those two players were perhaps the best performers of the night right now. But at this current moment in time, I do think that Josh Allen, like I said, is the best quarterback in the NFL and perhaps in fantasy as well. But I do want to point out the Commanders-Bengals game and some of the comments that Andre made about this game as well. Like I said, Jaden Daniels is the first time I truly got a look at this new-look Commanders offense. Jaden Daniels impressed me, very much so. I really liked him in this Cliff Kingsbury-style offense. Really looks more like a college-style offense, if anything, than a pro-style offense, which kind of suits Jaden Daniels' game style a little bit more. So, I was really impressed, though, by his decision-making. His ability as a dual-threat guy to make reads at the line was very on point. Just working all levels of the field. Two of the most impressive throws so far this season to Terry McLaurin, who also had a big game. That was a complete miss on my part, where I said, Terry McLaurin really hadn't gotten going this year. But kudos to Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin for being a dynamic wide receiver QB duo that we have to look out for the rest of the season. And Washington right now is a true contender in the NFC East. They really shocked me tonight. And, obviously Austin Eckler went down. I don't think that's as much of a big injury concern as we think it is. I still think, as we get a big comment here from Camden Christensen here. I start Stroud, Gibbs, Ramondre Stevenson, Jamar Chase, Nico Collins, Trey McBride, and Travis Etienne, with Jaden Daniels, Eckler, Waddle, Cooper, Ferguson, and Akers. Just got offered Daniels for Jamison, or Jamo Williams, and Bucky. We like it. I think that trade is interesting, but from what we've seen out of Jaden Daniels so far, I'm not sure if Jamison Williams and Bucky Irving is going to amount what he can become. I really like Jamison Williams in that Detroit Lions offense. When Jared Goff gives him the ball, he's the most dynamic player right now in that offense. And Bucky Irving is really starting to become the number one choice there in Tampa. He looks much more explosive in that offense than Rachaad White, and I really like the dynamism he brings. But then again, I don't necessarily think Tampa Bay is going to sustain the running attack as much as people think. So that trade, I don't necessarily think should go through for you. I think you keep Daniels. He's a valuable QB2 on your bench, matchups-oriented type of player, and I really like your roster. I think that maybe in the future, Waddle and Cooper are the best wide receiver 2 options for if one of your players go down. So maybe you look to trade someone else for Jamison Williams, and then we could be talking here. But at this current moment in time, from what we saw of Jaden Daniels, I think it's nice to sit tight a little bit. Maybe look for a more intriguing trade offer so that you can, as Camden also says, there's a chance I could get James Conner as well if you think that may be more enticing. Well, here's the thing. I think that, it's always a debate about which position you value more. Because from this kind of standpoint, you can say that, well, I'm getting more skill position players who will help me down the road. As Ashan donates $2, thank you, Hassan. And he says, Cameron Christensen also says, I'll decline it. He wants Daniels. I think that, that's a smart choice by you, Cameron, in that you kind of saw what you saw out of Jaden Daniels last night, and you determined that, well, right now, he is someone that I can utilize in matchups as they come along, but also, the QB market is going to get kind of volatile, There are still guys out there on the waiver wire, and we'll get to that topic in a little bit, that I really like. But as of this current moment, I think that Jaden Daniels is just too valuable to let go just now, even if that this current moment in time, you don't necessarily know week by week what Jaden Daniels is. So I think that this performance, though, by Jaden Daniels is highly indicative of what this Commanders offense looks like and what to expect in the future, as 21 for 23, 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, 12 carries as well for 39 yards, 1 touchdown, 28.06 points. So overall, very fantastic performance. Terry McLaurin as well, want to give him his flowers. 4 catches on 6 targets, 100 yards, 20 fantasy points for him. Not for nothing, though, Joe Burrow as well and the Bengals, even though they're at a point in this season where it's not looking good. They're 0-3. The chances of making the playoffs look very slim right now. Even though, the whole contract situation is settled, I think that it's a little bit late, as Joe Burrow had 29 of 38 yards, 324 yards, 3 touchdowns, 25.36 fantasy points. And Jamar Chase, well, fantastic game. 6 catches, 118 yards, 2 touchdowns, 29.8 fantasy points. So at the end of the day, I think that while, the Commanders got a big win, this was also kind of an indictment of the Cincinnati Bengals. They kind of got shell-shocked at home against a team that you kind of expected them to beat, but really had all the pieces and a game plan and game script that worked to their advantage. And Jaden Daniels, the sky's the limit for the kid. Look out for him and Terry McLaurin to have even more big games in the future. But that will just about do it for this segment. Hope you guys enjoy the little Monday night recap. I really enjoy this game. Keep the comments coming. I appreciate all of them. But coming up next, I think that, as Andre before, IMO, Chase Brown looked better than Moss. He might steal the job. I actually kind of agree with that statement. Both of these running backs kind of did look very nice in this offense, look very potent, as both of them contributed in many different ways. But I would agree, Chase Brown looked a little bit more explosive in terms of what he brought to this team. I really still like Zach Moss because he is someone who's a workhorse, workman-like back, but I agree that Chase Brown adds more value as an explosive player. So thank you for that comment, Andre. Keep them coming, but we do have to take a quick break. And when we come back on the other side, a little bit of a waiver wire update. Going to get a little bit controversial as well. Just going to warn you guys in advance, but we'll be right back after this short break.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please